Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rightly Dividing the Word with R.K. Brown. As you saw in the title, tonight we're going to be talking about the beast, the false prophet, and the mark. So this is about prophecy. There's a reason why I'm doing it, and if you stick around to the end of the video, if you stick around to the end of the lesson, I'm going to show a video. So stick around. Hooray, a video. And actually, you won't be saying hooray after you see the video. I promise you that. You will go, wow, oh my goodness. I had no idea we were this close. We're getting close, people. We're getting close. When I was in the Reformed Baptist movement, I can't say that I was an all-millennialist. I don't know what I was. I don't know millennialist. But then when I moved over to the Independent Fundamental Baptist movement, I started studying prophecy, and my friend Kevin Ray started studying prophecy. And so, I kind of was going alongside him. And here we are. I mean, we're just about here, y'all. It's crazy to think about. It's surreal to think about that we're right at the end of time. The Lord Jesus is getting ready to come back. If it's not now, when? All the things are falling into place that I'm about to read to you about in Revelation chapter 13, mostly Daniel chapter 7, and, some Daniel chapter 3, some Revelation 12, some 1 Peter chapter 4, some John chapter 6. No, I'm sorry, John chapter 16. But we've got a lot of scripture tonight to go through, so let's get in it. But first, I'd like to tell you that I am the adult Bible teacher and Wednesday night Bible teacher, adult Sunday school teacher and Wednesday night Bible teacher at Fatherland Baptist Church in Madison, Tennessee. Come visit us. We would love to have you. So we begin our lesson at Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. And I saw upon the sand of the sea, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his, remember it says his, feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. So we're talking about a beast, but we're talking about a king. We're talking about a kingdom, but we're talking about a king. And I'll show you that later. I'll show you how that works in Daniel chapter 7 when we get down there to it. We're talking about a beast. Now, I mentioned that he was like a leopard, a bear, and a lion. He was like a leopard. And the interesting thing about in Revelation 13, it said he's like a leopard, but it didn't describe any attributes of the leopard. But then it said he had the feet of a bear and the teeth of a lion. So there were descriptive things there. But we will see down in Daniel chapter 7 later a little bit of descriptive information about the leopard. All right? So we're talking about the beast of Revelation, or the Antichrist, or the man of sin. It is a kingdom, but it is also a king. Now, I'm going to read through all the text about the beast, but the truth is none of us know who it is. There's a lot of conjecture. I get in discussions with my friend Kevin all the time about who the beast might be. We talk about it, but we don't know. I maintain, Kevin doesn't necessarily maintain this, but I maintain that the Antichrist must be born in Bethlehem because of Micah 5:2, where it talks about, the one that's going to rule over my people Israel, the Lord said, is from Bethlehem. And so I do not see how that the Antichrist can't be born in Bethlehem, but that's really the only thing I can say that I know about him, other than he has the characteristics of the first 3 kingdoms in Daniel chapter 7. And actually, he has all the characteristics of the 4th king in Daniel chapter 7, which I believe is the Roman Empire. But this is, if you will, have you ever heard the term the revised Roman Empire? I believe the beast kingdom is the revised Roman Empire, but I don't believe it's like a lot of the dispensational teachers teach it, where it's Europe, where it's exactly the same map layout. I believe now it's worldwide. And the beast or the Antichrist or the man of sin or the son of perdition will run the show. All right, let's keep moving on. We're going to go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my visions by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So I'm going to stop right here and tell you that that is referring to a time back in Daniel chapter 4 where Nebuchadnezzar, the king Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, was so arrogant that he walked out on his front porch, if you will, one day and looked around and said, look at this great Babylon that I have built. And he heard a voice from the Lord that, basically told him that his kingdom was going to be taken from him until he learned better. And so he was driven out as a madman. He was basically driven crazy, and he ate grass, and his hair grew like eagle's wings, and his claws grew like the claws of bird claws. And he was in that state until 7 times passed over. Now, I don't know if it was 7 years or if it was 7 moon cycles. I don't know, because of the phrase 7 times passed over. So it might have just been 7 lunar cycles. But I don't know if that's enough time for his hair to grow like that. I don't know. I don't know about all that. But anyway, so there is a description of Nebuchadnezzar. And behold, another beast, a second, like a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth of it in between, and the teeth of it, and they... Let me read again. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. There we go. Sometimes it's that the way King James stuff is worded, it's just hard to get right, even though I'm a King James only guy. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So now we're talking about the Medo-Persian kingdom, where it was 2 kingdoms that basically sort of amalgamated and ruled the world, although the Medes, it seems, were stronger, so it was lifted up on one side. In other words, one side was stronger than the other. The 3 ribs in its mouth, I'm not going to comment on. I don't know what that is exactly right now, so I will not comment on it. But it's interesting that the little horn subdues 3 kingdoms. I do find that to be interesting. So, some kind of correlation there, maybe. Moving on. Verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard. So now we've got the lion, the bear, and the leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now we're talking about the Greeks, or Alexander the Great. And when it says it had 4 wings of a fowl or 4 heads, that's because his 4 generals, after he died, took his kingdom and divided it into 4. And actually one of those kingdoms became the Roman Empire. But I'm sorry, just something hit my head about the little horn subduing 3 kings. Possibly that could have been those other generals of the Grecian kings. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I think maybe that's it. Interesting. I was thinking out loud. Anyway, we're talking about Alexander the Great, who was 32 years old when he died, and he conquered so much ground that he wept because there was no more land to conquer. All right, moving on. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So look at the characteristics of this now. I'm going to read again at verse 7. And this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. It had great iron teeth, or teeth like a lion. It devoured and brake in pieces like a leopard, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, like the feet of a bear. So there it is. That kingdom has the characteristics of all three of those kingdoms. So we're seeing a kingdom that is reminiscent of the Revelation beast kingdom. Only I believe this is the Roman kingdom, the Roman Empire. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns, just like the Revelation kingdom. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. 3 of the first horns. Remember the other 3 generals of Alexander, because this kingdom it turned from the Greek kingdom to the Roman kingdom. And behold, in this horn were eyes, like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. And then in Daniel, if we jump down to verse 17, it says, these great beasts which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. So, like I said at the beginning of the lesson, these are kingdoms, but they are also kings. Now, I believe that we're running a parallel. I believe we're talking about a dual fulfillment here when we get to the 4th kingdom, because it's so much like the Revelation beast kingdom. Now, some preterist will say, well, RK, it actually is the Revelation beast kingdom. But there are many things that have yet to come to pass that I'm going to show you are about to come to pass. So it can't be that kingdom in Revelation 13 has already taken place. That is futuristic. It's almost now. All right, moving on. Revelation 13, verse 3, back to talking about the beast. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death. Now, most people, when they read that, they'll read it like, and I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded unto death. They miss the point. They miss the phrase, as it were. So I'm going to give you the definition, the Google definition of the phrase, as it were. Check this out. Phrase of as. So it's connected to the word as, and it means in a way, used to be less precise. Here's an example. Areas that have been, as it were, pushed aside. So you wouldn't really push an area aside, right? So it's meant to be less precise. Synonymous, so to speak, in a manner of speaking, to some extent, so to say. And from what is that word? Informal sort of. Oh, I guess those were pressed together. They didn't space right. Informal, sort of. The guests were chosen, as it were, by an almost random process. So what we're going to focus on is the synonyms. So you might say, and I saw one of his heads, so to speak, wounded unto death. Or I saw one of his heads, in a manner of speaking, wounded unto death. I saw one of his heads, to some extent, wounded unto death. I saw one of his heads, so to say, wounded unto death. So what that tells me is that it was wounded unto death, but it may not have been an exact death. It could have been a replicated death. It could have been a wound that would have surely, absolutely killed anybody else, but didn't kill him, and he was allowed to continue for 30 and 2 months. Or it could literally be that he was wounded unto death, and then just like Judas Iscariot, who was also called the son of perdition, just like the beast, it could be that he was literally killed and maybe Satan comes and inhabits his body. It could be something like that, but he's wounded, as it were, unto death. All right, moving on. And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. They didn't wander, they didn't follow like, just kind of wander aimlessly after the beast. They wondered, or they were enamored, they were amazed by the beast. They wondered after the beast. They were curious after the beast. They were amazed after the beast. All right, Moving on. Revelation 13:4. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? Now, my friend Kevin Ray pointed out something that I didn't notice before, and it's a pretty amazing thing because it's obviously true once you know what he's saying. They worship the beast not by bowing down and saying, "Oh, beast, we love you." They worship the beast saying, this is how they worship the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? So essentially they acquiesce to the beast. They know there's no need to try to make war with him because nobody can. All right? But also there was something I wanted to point out here just to make sure it's understood. At the beginning of verse 4 it said, And they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. Well, Revelation 12:9 tells us who the dragon is. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out, 3. I didn't know cast was spelled with 3. Anyway, whatever. He was cast out in the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So we know that the devil or the dragon is that old serpent called the devil and Satan. So Satan gave the man of sin, the son of perdition, the beast, the Antichrist, his power and great authority. Okay, I'm going to look and see if anybody's on. I do have a couple of people on. Thank you for watching. And before I get back to talking, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee out of this cup with a broken handle on it that my wife gave me, and I never get rid of it, even though I broke the handle recently because my wife gave me. So don't make fun of my flowers. And that is some delicious Starbucks coffee. I do love me some Starbucks. Okay, moving on. Revelation 13:5. And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemy, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. That's 3.5 years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 7 and check out the parallel. This is Daniel talking, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, like a lion, and his nails of brass, like a leopard, his nails like a leopard. Remember I said earlier in the video, I said we would get a little bit of descriptive language about the leopard, even though we didn't see that in Revelation 13, verses 1 or 2. But now we got a little bit of description in his nails, and he break and tear in pieces and all that kind of stuff. So a leopard is just a wild, destructive animal. As was Alexander the Great, by the way. Which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet. So there's the feet of a bear. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth, and spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. So when we're looking at the man of sin, one thing for sure is his look is going to be stout. I don't think, some people say that it might be Jared Kushner. I don't think that Jared Kushner has a very stout look. Just saying. He looks like I don't know, he might be a great, martial arts master or something like that, but he sure don't have a stout look. He looks like you could take his milk money. So I don't think it's Jared Kushner. Besides that, he's not born in Bethlehem, so I don't think he qualifies. Some people say he is. Nope. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Remember, we saw in Revelation that he overcame the saints. We're talking about the same thing here. We're talking about a parallel, but I think that it might be that Daniel may have jumped forward. It's very possible that Daniel jumped forward. Either that or... No, I think he jumped forward. I was even going to say either that or maybe Nero or one of those guys like that, because Nero did make war with the saints, no doubt about it. So if Nero is the comparison, we're still talking about a future kingdom, and you will see why before the end of this video comes. Oh, and by the way, those of you that are watching, I'm going to show a video at the end and also read an article. Stick around. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. You know what? I want to say again right now, as I was reading, it just hit me. I want to say again, I believe we're looking at the revised Roman Empire. So I think some people, when they say that, they've got it right, only they're trying to look at the exact geography of the Roman Empire, and I believe it's spiritually the revised Roman Empire, but I believe it's around the world. So we are looking at today's empire and the Roman Empire of old, the revised Roman Empire. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the last, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand unto a time and times, and to the dividing of times. He shall think to change times and laws. Look up the phrase Noahide laws, because the Jews, or especially the Zionists, those who are looking for, as they say, Mashiach, they are talking about something called the Noahide laws, which the Gentiles will follow. They say, well, the Gentiles can't be Jews. We don't really want them to be Jews. We just want them to follow these Noahide laws, so he will think to change times and laws. Look that up. Boy, you ought to hear the rabbis. I, along with my friend Kevin Ray, who's listened to way more of this stuff than I have, I have heard many rabbis talk about the Noahide laws. This is a thing. He will think to change times and laws and try to enforce a sort of Old Testament law onto the Gentiles, but it will not be the 10 Commandments exactly. Very reminiscent of the 10 Commandments, and supposedly they came from Noah. That's why they're called Noahide laws. But they are not exactly like the 10 Commandments, but very similar. There are 7 of them. He will think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand for a time and times, and to the dividing of times, or 3.5 years or 42 months, just like we saw in Revelation chapter 13. Okay, let me see where I am. All right. We're back to Revelation 13:8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Okay, I think this is worth talking about right here, because this has to do with the reprobate doctrine. If you want to know what the reprobate doctrine is, go back to a video that I put out a while back called What and Who is a Reprobate? And if you do a study on the book of life, and I need to do one, if you do a study on the book of life, it appears that everybody is born with their name written in the book of life. But when they have rejected God to the point where God rejects them, and that is a thing, Jesus tasted death for every man. But there comes a time when people continue to reject God, when they don't want to retain God in their knowledge, that their foolish heart is darkened, they're given over to a reprobate mind. That means they are rejected. Jeremiah 6 verse 30 gives a really good definition of what a reprobate is, so go check it out. Reprobate silver shall men call them, because the Lord hath rejected them. So when they reject God to the point where he's had enough, then he rejects them. They become reprobate. Their names are removed from the book of life. So when you see that verse in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I will not blot out his name from the book of life, that's because he's not a reprobate. That's because he's not rejected God. But most of the people on earth are going to receive the mark of the beast, and therefore they are reprobates, or they will be reprobates at this point. They will have rejected God to the point where he will have rejected them, and they will receive the mark as evidence of their reprobation. Okay? Moving on. Verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Essentially what John the Revelator is saying there is, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. He that leads into captivity, or he that, like Jesus said, that that, the man of sin, or they, the beast will imprison some of us for 10 days. So he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. They're going to be cast into the lake of fire. They certainly will be into captivity. And he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And they are going to be put to death when the wrath of God comes upon the earth after the tribulation period. And this is the patience and faith of the saints. In other words, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. There's biblical precedence to say that that's what that means. In other words, be patient. Don't try to exact revenge on yourself. God is going to repay these people. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. I want to take this time to say that I'm telling you right now, there is no pre-tribulation rapture. We are going to be in the tribulation. The tribulation comes before the wrath. We're not going to go through the wrath of God. We're going to go through the wrath of the devil, because the devil hates God, he hates us, and he's going to put us into tribulation. But then we will be delivered from tribulation, and the wrath period will start, and that's when it's going to be on for the world. And I believe it will happen really quick once it begins to start, once God begins to pour out his wrath on the world. All right? So, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. This is the patience and faith of the saints. Don't try to avenge yourself. God will avenge you. All right? Moving on. Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So this is the false prophet. This is the one called the false prophet, because he causes everybody to worship the first beast. Okay, moving on. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven, like Elijah did, on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, whose coming is with all signs and lying wonders. How does it say it in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2? With all signs and lying wonders. So these are lying wonders in the sense that I don't think they're false miracles. I used to think that meant that they were false miracles. But I think when it says that they're lying wonders, what it means is they're leading you to a false Messiah. Not me, and hopefully not you, but he'll be leading people to a false Messiah. So it's lying wonders because they're wonders designed to lead you to the Antichrist. Okay, let me see. Okay, I'm going to pick up at verse 14 again. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So he tells the people of the earth to create an image to the beast, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast causes that everybody who would not worship the beast should be killed. How crazy is that? Let me go back and read that last part again to make sure I got that right. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So the image is able to cause those who don't worship him, the image, to be killed. Now, I don't believe that that is something that could have been done in the time of Nero Caesar. Obviously, it couldn't have been done. But I will tell you this, that entities like Google and other entities out there, Hanson Robotics, are working on artificial intelligent computers and or robots. And they say that their ultimate goal is to make a computer that is self-aware. In other words, a computer that has life, a computer that actually knows who it is, has feelings, has its own original thought. They are trying to create life. And I'm sure they will succeed. They also say that they're able to take brain information like your memories and all your thoughts and stuff like that and store them in data storage like on a hard drive. And a weird thing also is that they say that DNA actually makes amazing storage. The only thing is it corrupts real fast. It doesn't last very long, but they say that you can put an amazing amount of data into a strand of DNA. A very small amount of DNA can hold a lot of data. So this is all crazy stuff that they're working on. So they're looking at making an image of the beast, I think, an artificial intelligent computer. Now, there is a man who used to work for Google, and then they say that he stole the self-driving car technology because that was the department of Google that he worked at. They said that he stole that and took it over to Uber. And now Uber is working on a self-driving car. And this man's name is Anthony Levandowski, and he filed papers in the state of California in 2015 to start a church called The Way of the Future. Check this out. This is an article in a publication, probably a website called Seeker.com. But you don't just have to get it there. This is true. This is in a lot of places. This is no BS. I just took this article. The article is accurate. This is in a lot of places. This is true. So the Seeker.com article says, you might soon be able, if you're so inclined, to join a bona fide church worshiping an artificially intelligent God. Former Google and Uber engineer Anthony Levandowski, according to a recent back-channel profile, filed paperwork with the state of California in 2015 to establish Way of the Future, a nonprofit religious corporation dedicated to worshiping AI, or artificial intelligence. The church's mission, according to paperwork obtained by Back Channel, is to develop and promote the realization of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence, and through understanding and worship of the Godhead, contribute to the betterment of society. The document shows Lewandowski is CEO and president of Way of the Future. Presumably, there was no option for high priest. That was just a little humor on the part of the writer. I'm going to take another sip of this coffee right here as you think about people worshiping artificial intelligence. I didn't get to drink coffee before I came on the air, and I really kind of needed a jolt of coffee because I didn't sleep last night. I slept some this afternoon, but I didn't sleep last night. So I just need a little jolt of coffee just to push on through it. Can you dig it? I knew that you could. All right. So we're talking about artificial intelligence ruling people, and that is the plan of a lot of people. Ray Kurzweil, who is head of artificial intelligence at Google, says that by the year 2029, that the human brain that every aspect of the human brain will have successfully been artificially replicated in, the cyber world. They're talking about something called the singularity, where man and machine will be joined together, and I guess it'll be, as they call it, the next step in the evolution of man. And of course, we don't believe in evolution as Christians. We believe that God created the earth on 6 days, in 6 days, and rested on the seventh, and he made man on the sixth day. So, and even if the Bible wasn't clear enough about that in Genesis chapter 1, it repeats it again in Genesis chapter 20 when God talks about the Sabbath. He said, 6 days you shall work and you shall rest on the seventh, because in 6 days God created the earth and rested on the seventh. So for sure, we have a double witness that God created the earth in 6 literal days. We don't believe in evolution, but they do, and they're trying to push forward the evolution of man by amalgamating man and machine. They're also, like I said, they're also talking about being able to take people's memories and thoughts and all that kind of stuff and store it in digital media, or on a digital medium, if you will. So that is the job of the false prophet, to give life to the image, to do miracles and lead people to follow the first beast and to build an image to that beast and give life to that image, and that image will cause that as many as don't worship it to be put to death. That could not have been done in the time of the original first Roman Empire. But like I said, we're talking about a revised Roman Empire, which is a kind of a spiritual Roman Empire with a literal head, with a man who will rule over it, known as the man of sin, the son of perdition, the Antichrist, or the beast. So I guess I've said about all I want to say about that. Let's move on to the mark, I think. Hold on. Nope. I think I'm going to give you an Old Testament example of the beast. That's right. I'm going to go to Daniel chapter 3 and give you an Old Testament example of the image of the beast. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Check it out again. Whose height was 60 cubits, that's 60, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. So it was 60 cubits high, 6 cubits wide. So we see 66 there. Now that's not 3 sixes, but it's definitely a type and shadow, no doubt, because it's an image. And remember, the false prophet causes the people to worship the image, and we're going to see what else the false prophet does momentarily. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And the princes, the governors, and captains, and judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then an herald cried, here's the false prophet right here. Then an herald cried, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and tongues, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music. And I love the way they spell music. Ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king hath set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Now, we saw the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being cast into the burning fiery furnace because they would not worship the beast. And lo and behold, the Son of God was there in the midst with them. And when we, the Christians, are cast into a burning fiery furnace because we won't worship, in other words, we're cast into fiery trial, then Jesus is going to be with us. Check this out in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice insomuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. So check out a couple of words here. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is what I was talking about, the fiery trial, because it's going to be like a fiery furnace to us. It's going to be hot. It's going to be tough. I'm not kidding. And we Christians are going to be there. I do not believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. No way, no how. Jesus said after the tribulation, the sun and the moon are darkened. In Matthew 24, after the tribulation, immediately after the tribulation of those days, after the tribulation, the sun and the moon are darkened, or the sun is dark and the moon shall not give its light, and God will send forth his angels to gather his elect from the four winds of heaven, blah, blah, blah. So after the tribulation of those days, all right? So Peter also says, but rejoice insomuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. We are looking at the book of Revelation. Revelation comes from the word apocalypto or apocalypsis. It means apocalypse. Apocalypse doesn't mean catastrophe. Apocalypse means revelation. We're talking about Christ being revealed here. And this is how it's done. When we see all these things come to pass, we know that Christ is being revealed. He's about to show his face in the clouds. We're about to see him come in the clouds. When you see all these things come to pass, look up, because your redemption draweth nigh. All right? These things are coming to pass. All right. Now let's see what else the false prophet does. Revelation 13:16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. All right. So we see that there's a mark that's going to be given in the right hand or in the forehead. I'm going to show you a video now. I hope you're still sticking with me. I'm going to switch hands here for a second, just see if people are still with me. Well, it looks like a few people are with me. Check this out. Now, this is not some guy in his mother's basement, some YouTube tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. This is a news network. Here we go.
So many economists believe the future will be cash-free. You're already seeing it from everywhere you go, whether it's your baseball game or to your local deli. Now, Sweden is getting there even faster than anyone else. According to a New York Times report, a fifth of the country, doesn't even use ATMs anymore. And 4,000 Swedes, now get this, have microchips implanted in their hands so they can pay for products with just a wave of their hand. Makes the Apple Watch kind of look obsolete. So on top of that, many Swedish companies are asking their employees to get implants to pass through access points and to pay for conveniences. Now the red flags start going up. So for our red flags, we have to turn to legal media analyst Lionel. Lionel, thanks for joining us on this. I know you've got some red flags, and I feel like I'm reading out of the book of Revelation possibly. So what concerns come to you arise from humans microchipping themselves?
This is the mark of the beast. This is, listen, no, let me tell you something. I mean, I'm no biblical scholar here, but it's amazing the parallels made. Now listen, let's get down to brass tacks. Would you, not you, I wish they'd stop with this. They go, we're going cashless. We've been cashless. Where's this cash? Ever buy a house with cash or a car? We've got this. I don't even have, I got a couple of bucks. We've been cashless. But that's not the issue. One of these days, these kids, I think you call them millennials or something, they're going to take these little tiny RFID, radio frequency identification chips, about the size of a grain of rice. And they're going to be cool, Scotty. Oh, they're going to be waiting in line overnight to get implanted. And they're going to say, look at this. I can go to the drugstore. I can go to a cab. Isn't it great? How cool am I? Look, I've got this little embedded chip. And they'll say, they have medical records. And you're going to do that to grandma and grandpa in case, God forbid, they have some kind of dementia they're walking off. I mean, after all, we have it in our dogs, right? It's like OnStar for human beings. But here's the catch. One of these days, God forbid, Scotty, they find you guilty of something. And you go before a court. And they say, we're going to sentence you to prison? No. We're going to turn your chip off. And you don't exist. Poof. Everything. In fact, people are going to notice that when you walk up, they're going to say, who is this? You're not registered. You say, it's me. What do you mean, who is this? No, you're not showing up on this. You don't exist. If you think I'm kidding, this is Elba. This is like some type of a prison. And people are going to be, one of these days, enslaved by this chip that it will replace you.
Now, wait a minute. First of all, no chip can replace you. Let me just point that out. No chip can replace me. But
You're telling me.
We can talk about the sci-fi sets, but I also want to talk about the responsibility aspect of it. My mother used to say, if you can't hold on to a $20 bill, then you don't even need to be able to spend it. You're not responsible enough to spend it. I'm worried, are they going to sell this basis on the fact that, hey, guess kids lose their money all the time? You won't ever have to be responsible again for yourself. You know, it automatically comes to you. Is that how they're going to try to sell this? What?
Scotty, what's that thing you have on your wrist?
Oh, I said I've got my Apple
Watch. That looks like a watch?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it tracks me.
You know what that is? That's a surveillance unit. That's a surveillance unit. This is transhumanism. The RFID chip one day, and how many times have you used that? Have you used the iPhone wallet? Hey, I got this. Isn't this great?
It's convenient,
and you're responsible. Yeah,
convenience is that's a positive, though. We can't always say all technology is a negative.
Positive?
It's positive. You know,
let me tell you something. When something is free, you're the product. This is what happens. You see, we're going around and I don't want to scare you, but we've lost all sense of freedom. We're walking around here enslaved in this 24/7 worldview panopticon. You are walking around with a surveillance device on your wrist.
Well, you know what?
And I've got this stupid thing, too. I'm walking around with it.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I'd want to be surveilled your life 24/7. Mine's not exciting. But you know what? I know that we will have you back on to continue this conversation. Thanks for joining us.
Please.
And this
is very serious stuff.
It is.
Okay. How about that? Like I said, that is not a guy sitting in his mama's basement talking about that stuff. These are people talking about it on a cable news network, RT, Russian television. And they said that 4,000 Swedes have already got this chip in their hand so they can, buy conveniences and things like that. Weirdly enough, I couldn't sleep last night. I didn't sleep all night thinking about that I was going to teach this in church this morning, because I was also going to tell those who were in my lesson at church that I didn't believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. And the pastor does. And so I said, I may get fired from my teaching job today. I don't think I'm in trouble with the pastor, because I asked him if I was in trouble, and he said no. Our pastor is a good man. I love our pastor. I would love him even if he fired me, because I know that he's a pre-trib guy. I respect it. It's just not true. And so I'm laying awake, and about goodness, I wake up at about 7:10, or I sit up at about 7:10 in the morning, and because I didn't even go to bed till 4:30 in the morning because I'm a professional musician, blah, blah, blah. So I lift up at about 7:10, and I pick up my phone, and I see there I've got an instant message on Facebook Messenger. So I open it up, and it's my cousin, Ivy, who lives out in Phoenix. And he sends me this message, and in the message, he's talking about all these people that are using this biometric technology. And in the article, it says that 2,000 Swedes are now using an implant in their hand to be able to ride the train. Now, here's the crazy thing about that implant in your hand. The guy that actually was one of the people that invented the technology said that they studied the human body because they wanted to make a lithium battery that could be recharged by temperature change. And so they had to find in the body the places that would change temperature the most. And it turned out that it is right here and right here, right at the hairline. Those are the places in the body that change temperature the most. And it just so happens that he causeth all. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Now, it doesn't say on, like all the modern Bibles say. The King James Bible is right. It says in their right hand or in their forehead. So it's not going to be a stamp. It's going to be an etching, a mark. It's going to be something that's going to leave a mark, if you will. Just like a vaccination. When you get that vaccination when you're a kid, we used to show each other our vaccination, It's going to leave a mark. A charagma, as it is in the Greek. So, now we're looking at artificial intelligence. We're looking at this biometric technology, and also the way I got started on this, the very reason that I started teaching this lesson is because I had my mama sent me a video from a website called True News, which is really good. They're good. Watch them. Subscribe to their channel, True News. And they were talking about how India has gone cashless, at least for the most part, that in about 2016, that the Prime Minister of India did away with about 85% of cash. And they're using a biometric technology that they call Aadhaar, A-A-D-H-A-R. Look it up. And A-A-D-H-A-R, A-A-D-H-A-R. And in this technology, they're scanning the irises, which is kind of in your forehead, and the prints of your hand, your right hand, which is in the right hand, interestingly enough. And they are giving everybody a card called an Aadhaar card with a 12-digit number, and that number corresponds to their biometric technology. And also, all that information is being sent to the UN. But not only that, there's a country called Maldives that is real close to Sri Lanka, just off the Indian Ocean, that is also implementing this kind of technology. And also Jamaica is implementing this kind of technology. Switzerland is almost completely cashless. You see, the Swedes are putting the things in their hands. We're going to a cashless society. It is coming, people, and it's coming hard and fast. And we're going to go through it. So be ready. Be ready. I'm not trying to paint you a rosy picture and say, oh, we're all going to be just removed off of the earth before this happens. Now, I know a lot of you dispensationalists are probably kicking and screaming right now if you're watching this in the future, or if you're watching it right now, kicking and screaming, going, no, that's our blessed hope. The rapture is our blessed hope. Well, Christ is our blessed hope. And Jesus said this in John chapter 16, verse 33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Jesus has overcome the world. Jesus has overcome the world. In him we have peace. Blessed are the peacemakers. Jesus even said in Matthew chapter 10, think not that I've come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace on earth, but a sword. I came to divide households, the father against the son against the father, the daughter against the mother against the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and so on and so on. And a man's foes shall be they of his own house. So peace on earth for us is peace with God. Where the Bible in Luke chapter 2, on the night that Christ was born, where the angel said, peace on earth and towards men goodwill. Well, that peace is peace with God. Even though we're here on earth, we have peace with God. But we are not going to have peace on earth with the Antichrist. We are going through tribulation. Jesus said, in the world you will have tribulation. But fear not, I have overcome the world. So I guess that's it. I guess that's about all I've got on this. I wasn't as organized as I could have been, but, well, I guess so far I've never been as organized as I could have been. I don't know. But anyway, there you are. There's the man of sin, or the beast, the false prophet, and the mark. Now, I would like to invite you to come and worship with us at Fatherland Baptist Church in Madison, Tennessee. It's a sweet congregation of people that love the Lord Jesus Christ, and an 81-year-old pastor who has an amazing testimony and is full of wisdom. Now, if you don't want to come visit with us at Fatherland, or you just can't get there, or whatever reason, you live too far away, then find yourself a King James only believing church somewhere and get in it. The Bible exhorts you to be in a congregation like this. Hebrews 10:23, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. And of course, Ephesians 4:11. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. So don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together, as some are accustomed to doing, but provoke unto love and to good works, especially as you see the day approaching. And I'm telling you, that verse has never been more pertinent to a lesson that I'm teaching than it is right now to this one. The day is approaching. The day is approaching. Run to safety. Run to the congregation of believers. He gave apostles and prophets. Those are the guys that wrote the Bible. Evangelists, the guys that preach the word. Pastors and teachers, the guys who preach and teach to the congregation. Mainly, that's mainly the job of the pastor and teacher, is to teach and preach to the congregation. The pastor is obviously, the head of the church, whatever church he rules over. He rules over the church. He determines how the worship is going to go. He determines the flow of the worship and all that kind of stuff, what Bible verses are going to be read and what lessons are going to be taught and that sort of thing. Now, our pastor gives me leeway to teach whatever I feel good about. So, anyway, you need to be under the headship of a pastor so that he can teach you the way of Christ. He can teach you how to walk a godly walk, so that God doesn't have to chastise you, because in Hebrews chapter 12, the Bible says he chastens and scourges or whips every son whom he receives. God does whip his children just like a good parent whips their children when they get out of line. Not abuse them, but whip them. And God doesn't abuse us, but he knows how to whip us. He knows how to whip us. And he will let us, suffer the consequences of our sin. So anyway, visit us at Fatherland Baptist Church in Madison, Tennessee. Also, if you're watching by Facebook and or YouTube, then do as the kids say and smash the like button. And if you're watching by YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the bell for further notifications, like whenever I put up a sermon, whenever I put up a lesson like this. I am R.K. Brown. This is Rightly Dividing the Word with R.K. Brown, and I hope you'll join me again real soon. Thanks for watching. God bless. Good night.